Hey there, Co-Angler Nation. Thanks for tuning in. The other day I posted a picture of a pile of baits talking about tackle management and the fact that I typically will carry more soft plastics than I do hard baits, but obviously we all know hard baits are a part of the game. You gotta have them with you. So what I was looking to do was figure out a way to minimize the amount of space that I would take up with these baits, but maximize the applications that I could have accessible to me when I was out on the water. So the picture that you saw, I've actually added a few more baits to this. So I've actually got some spinner baits in there now. I think I added a yellow magic and maybe one or two other things, but at last count, I think there's 47 baits in this pile right here that I am going to put into this 3700 size Plano. I think this is a medium crankbait box. You can pick this up anywhere from Tackle Warehouse to Academy, Bass Pro, your favorite tackle store. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. We'll take a pause real quick. I'm gonna move all this stuff over to the side, pull the box here so you can see me actually putting everything in there and kind of how I do it to maximize the space. So here we go. All right, so I've got everything laid out on the side over here. Show you how I organize all of these and kind of what I'm taking with me to give you a sense and show you that you really can cover in almost every application. So to start off with, I've got some crankbaits. I do bring a couple of medium divers. This is a Spro rock crawler, which will get me down to, you know, that 9-10 foot that I may be looking for on any given day. Followed up, I've got a bunch of 1.5 Strike Kings that I bring with me. This is actually a topwater Sammy that I fitted in this little spot right here just because I couldn't get it with the rest of my topwater items, but no big deal. You see that all fits in there. I've got 3 more 1.5s in different colors so I can kind of cover everything that I may run into out there. Next up, I've got a handful of bladed jigs, which slide right into the next spot. You'll notice I actually alternate these, you know, front back. I don't know that it makes a difference, but just for me and my OCD nature, it just seems to fit in there a little bit better. So you can see I've got 4 of those, 5 of those going in, which covers pretty much every color. Got, you know, different trailers on each one of them. Next up, this is something that wasn't in the original picture, but I added to it because obviously, you know, I'm going to be taking some spinner baits out there. So got a couple of them. You'll see here what I usually do is I put the wire and the blades down in first, and the way this box is configured, it kind of slants down so it gives you some extra surface area. So you can push those down in there. They fit nice and easy. Put the hooks and everything down in, and it will minimize the amount of tangles that you get into, which brings me to something I forgot to mention. For those of you who don't do this, maybe you think it's a pain in the butt, too much time, but I'll tell you, for me it's a lot easier to use rubber bands on these treble hooks. So it may take me an extra second or two to wrap them up or to unwrap them, but I guarantee you that's a lot less time than I'd be taking fighting with hooks and pulling out, you know, 4 or 5 at a time because they're all tangled up in one another. So I saw that some guy on YouTube or something with that, but this works out great for me, and I do it with anything that has a treble hook on it. Pretty much I'll put those rubber bands on it, and it does save me a lot of time having to fight with things, getting them out, and you know, just gets me tied up a lot quicker in the water a lot quicker, and obviously that's the objective. So back to it, we just went through the spinner baits. So we've got crankbaits, square bills, bladed jigs, spinner baits. We've got some swim jigs here, one white with the trailer. Here's a black and blue. I could stick that in there. Got a couple of football head jigs. And you'll notice that I will push kind of the skirts down in there. They're not too crazy, but sometimes they'll have a tendency to stick up, and by God, you know, the fish is just not going to bite it if it's missing one of those strands on the skirt. So make sure you preserve those to the fullest. Okay, anyways, So beyond the swim jigs and the football head, I've got some of these Strike King structure jigs. I use these a lot for dragging around in deeper water, or I'll even flip with these things. I like the way that head kind of makes it through cover. They'll get hung up some, but I don't have too much of a problem with it, so I really like those. I've got them in halves and 3/4 ounce, just depending on where I'm at. So we've got, let's see, there's 3 of those in various colors. Here comes 4. And then I've got a couple of swing head jigs I made. They're just homemade deals. It's got a swing head with a wide gap hook on it that I'll bring those. Just if I'm looking for something a little bigger profile, sometimes those seem to work out good. And then I've got one in with green pumpkin, kind of summer crawl looking with the green pumpkin head on it. So all those will go down here, and I think that was 6 jigs that I put in there. Moving on to the next spot, I've got some top water. This is the Whopper Plopper. This is the 110 model that just came out, so if it will fit, which it does, obviously you know the 90 will fit. I'm not sure about the big one. I don't really fish with that too much, but if I do bring something that's too big to fit in here, I have another little box that I'll use, and I'll show you guys that in a later video. So I've got the Whopper Plopper, got a Yozuri top water, and then just a little Yellow Magic in bone color. That goes right in there, no problem. Next up, you know, summertime fishing in Texas, so who doesn't have frogs? So I've got a little Spro, a little Junior here. Here's a popper. And then this is the new one. I think this is a Spro 60 or something like that, and Nasty Shad something. It works. Caught some fish with it. So, and then a Strike King. I actually use this as a trailer on buzz baits. I'll take the skirt off and just throw that on the back, and it seems to work pretty good these days. So moving on past the top water applications, I've got various sizes of these little scrounger heads. And I'll use these typically if my boater is catching fish on crankbaits. I may throw these in there just to see if I can get bit. They've worked pretty good for me. So it's just something I learned from somebody. Said, hey, if you don't want to be throwing the same thing your boater is, here's something else you may try that obviously it's not as erratic and as noisy as a crankbait, but certainly throws off a little bit of vibration to get the fish interested in it. So I've got several of those, 3 different sizes. I just picked this up on Tackle Warehouse a couple weeks ago. I haven't used it, but what I like about it, it's similar and I guess the same principle of like a Alabama rig, but minus all the extra hooks and flash and everything else. So I just saw on Tackle Warehouse the other day, they've got these now where it's got 2 of them coming out of the bottom for a total of 4. So I'm gonna give this thing a shot this weekend in some of the deeper areas that we're fishing and see if I can't find some. But thought that was pretty cool. So I'm gonna bring that along. That fits right in there with those scrounger heads. And then from there, I've just got various paddle tails that I've got some with weights on them, some without, some with flashy swimmers, some without. So put those in there. You'll notice that what I'll usually do is I'll alternate, you know, front to back, and again, it's just kind of my OCD nature. And you know, I mean, I've been doing this, and I haven't noticed anything, you know, the tails getting messed up or anything like that. So and they seem to fit, you know, it's kind of like a little puzzle. They seem to fit one after the other. And then obviously I've got one with a little jig head on it. And then lastly, in the last space, I put these little jerk baits that I'll bring along with me. You could fit bigger ones in here, but these 2 will go in here. These randoms showed up from I don't know where, but it's obviously I've got a Wacky Rig Senko and a trick worm on a little swing head too, so I'll bring those. Who knows what's going to happen. So put those in and seal it all up. Might push things down just a little bit. Like I said, make sure you protect those skirts. By God, fish know if you're missing a piece of the skirt. But put it in, close it up. There it is. That is a 3700 size medium crankbait organizer. It's got, like I said, 47 different baits in there that cover everything from square, you know, shallow running square bills, got a mid runner in there, vibrating jigs or chatter baits, whatever you want to call them, spinner baits, swim jigs, football heads, structure jigs, topwater, frogs, scrounger head, paddle tails, and some jerk baits. And you can obviously switch this out if you're fishing different applications. The biggest thing obviously is that it fits in there. You're not going to get an 8XD in something like this. I don't fish a lot of 8XD, so that doesn't matter to me. But like I said, in a future video I'll show you if I've got some oversized lures that I'm going to bring, then I'll show you how I bring those. But just try to keep it as efficient as possible. Try to keep it all right there in front of me so that I can just flip this box open. I'm not fighting through a bunch of different boxes trying to find what I'm looking for. I know exactly where it's at, and it's kind of organized, for my fishing style. So I hope that helps you guys, and definitely if you've got some suggestions or some things that work for you, let me know, share with everybody, and we appreciate you tuning in to the Co-Angler Nation. Stay tuned. I've got some more videos coming up on terminal tackle, organization, and some things like that hopefully will help you guys out. So thanks for tuning in. Take care.